I had my first brush with the subject of cryptocurrency in a rather humorous way when I had chanced upon a video of John Oliver of the Tonight Show, where he described cryptocurrency as everything you don't understand about money combined with everything you don't understand about computers. So that was 2018. What has changed since? Have people gotten their heads around the subject, or what's your reading?
No, definitely not. And I actually was that the video where did they talk about Dogecoin in that video?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
among others, yeah.
Yeah, so that video was actually relevant to the beginning of my journey. I find crypto very confusing, and I got into it around during the pandemic. Yeah, I've been hearing about this for years. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody's really using crypto for anything, but yet the prices are just going one way straight up. People are getting rich. I'm hearing about billionaires. I want to know why. And that was kind of the start of my journey.
Right. And how did that make you feel in the beginning? You are a financial journalist, an investigative reporter, and you are expected to do lots of analysis, read balance sheets, try to get to the bottom of companies. And then, so people around you are getting rich. How did that make you feel at the time?
Well, I had a lot of emotions. I was a little bit jealous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not allowed to make investments, so I was never going to invest. But I still was kind of jealous that I hadn't. And I also felt like you're saying that I know how things work, and that an investment must be based on a expected return. Right. And with crypto, it just seemed like it was totally divorced from all the traditional rules of finance. And now a lot of people, I get this response from a lot of people, even now, they'll say, well, isn't the whole stock market crazy? Isn't it all kind of based on nothing and just go up and down for no reason? And maybe in the short term, yes, like there's big stock market moves that you can't explain. But in the long run, if you buy a share of Coca-Cola, then every time that company sells a soda, you are earning some fraction of a penny. And that is sort of the basis of why companies are valuable, why stocks go up, why people make investments. But I also thought, could there be something more here? Like, it can't all be this dumb, right? Like, there's got to be something more here. I didn't think there was, but I also felt like there had to be. So that was how I decided to start off investigating.
Did you, in your time of investigating this, find any, good, solid for arguments, meaning which say, okay, there is some merit in it, at least in theory, or was it all hogwash?
A lot of it sounds very good in theory. Even ones that made sense in theory, when I went and looked at what they were doing in practice, I found that they had really little practical use, were very hard to use, and if they were measured against other consumer applications, it was hard to see how crypto was ever going to get mass appeal. In the book, I went to El Salvador to explore this, where they've tried to adopt crypto as an alternative with like very little success. But no, I've also been reading about in India, there's like a national payment system that's pretty low cost. Isn't that right?
Yes. It's quite user friendly, and it takes 2 taps to buy a coconut on the street, or paying for a supermarket or apparel, whatever it is that you buy. Yeah, that's true.
And you don't need to know the coconut seller's name, right? No. Like, you just get their sort of ID number.
Yeah. Yes, you just scan a QR code and you're good to go.
Yeah. So to me, I think in India, it's unlikely that crypto for payments will become popular because you're competing with such a good system. Or in Kenya, where they similarly have really good mobile phone-based payments with, like, I mean, there are fees, but they're not huge, and it's adopted by everyone in the whole country. Like, the money aspect got so far ahead of the usefulness aspect, and I think that's true like across crypto.
And what did the folks like Sequoia Capital see because these are intelligent minds, investors, venture capitalists. I think if I remember the figure correctly, they have or they had invested $213 million in FTX at the time when it was making a lot of noise. Now, when you speak with some of those folks, have they done a U-turn today as compared to where they were? Or are they saying that it's an idea whose time will come? How is it? Because these are intelligent folks having burnt money then at the moment. That's how it appears to be. Yeah.
Well, I think that when it comes to Sequoia, I think that I sort of made the same mistake as them, which was I spent a few days with Sam Bankman-Fried in the Bahamas when things were going great before this conference, kind of at the peak of the bubble. Yeah. And I'm sitting with him and he's telling me, I've built this great crypto exchange and it's got really good technology. It's very safe. It's very fast. And he's like, these crypto guys don't know what they're doing. I'm taking the best of Wall Street and I'm creating this high-tech exchange. And he wouldn't say Dogecoin's going to the moon. Bitcoin is the future. He kept it very grown up. Even though he kind of dressed like a kid, he acted like a grown up. The venture capitalists saw the same thing and thought, you know what? I can see that crypto's going up and up and up. I don't want to go buy Dogecoin, but I want to get in on this somehow. Yeah. This is a company that's going to make money regardless of what happens. And I can profit from the crypto boom without actually taking a position on crypto. And now what we know now is that actually when regular users sent money to his crypto exchange, FTX, he would tell the users, oh yes, your money's safe here. In fact, he would take their money and with his hedge fund, Alameda Research, he would secretly gamble that money on things like Dogecoin. And Sam was great at playing this part. Like when I was sitting with him, one of the first times that we met, he was conducting interviews with other journalists over Zoom. So I'm sort of sitting like right next to him. And then he was also, while I could see that while he was doing the interviews, he was playing video games. And the Sequoia guys, it's come when he pitched them on FTX, he was playing League of Legends and they found out about it. And they weren't mad. They were like, oh my God, this guy is so bold that he's so unimpressed by us that he's just going to play video games while he pitches us. And that's kind of like, as a venture capitalist, you want to invest with someone who doesn't need your money too bad.
Do you think that these regulators also were sleeping at the wheel?
Quite obvious the regulators were not doing their job. And you can see it by, more recently, the Securities and Exchange Commission sued Coinbase, among other crypto exchanges. And what they said in this lawsuit was not that Coinbase had secretly done anything bad. They just said, hey, you're offering all these coins on your platform, and these are unregistered securities. And Coinbase had been openly doing this for years. And there was no need. It wasn't like there was some huge amount of evidence that needed to be gathered. It was right there on the internet. But for years, the Securities and Exchange Commission let this happen. And only last year did they sue. When everything was going great, it's hard for the regulators to step in and say, they don't want to, if they try to stop the fun, everyone will be very mad at them. But if once crypto collapses, now you have a lot of angry investors calling the regulators and saying, hey, Do Kwon stole my money. Can you go get him? And that is an easier time to bring the case.
So does it also, how would you respond to some folks who might say that it is a few bad apples that are bringing a really horrific name to the industry? It's like, what is that Top Gun quote? It's not the plane, it's the pilot, is what Tom Cruise says. Or it's basically the guys who are running the show and not the show itself. So I think I remember this during the subprime crisis as well, back in 2008, so 7-8. I did speak. There was a well-known investment bank called State Street Global Markets, and they issued a statement and in which they said that, I quote, market participants don't know whether to buy on the rumor and sell on the news, do the opposite, do both or do neither, depending on which way the wind is blowing, unquote. Which means that even during in the conventional money markets, you had these kinds of scams coming in, and those were perpetrated by some gamblers who invested in things that I don't understand, by the way, collateral debt obligations and whatnot. And it is those equivalent, section bringing a bad name to the industry, whether it's the Binance chap, the Sam Bankman-Frieds of the world, and the Celsiuses of the world. So how would you react to that?
That's a very good question, which I have gotten a lot. And what I would say is that I have not looked into every single thing in crypto.
Yeah.
Could there be a good one out there? I mean, it'd be kind of embarrassing if there wasn't, because so many people have spent so much time trying to come up with new cryptocurrencies and new apps and whatever. But I went into the industry and met the most prominent people. And so many, it was not just like one or two were revealed to be not so great. It was like the biggest and most prominent companies in the industry were revealed to be frauds. Binance, like by far the biggest exchange, the founder was arrested and pleaded guilty to like huge amounts of money laundering. Binance was, moving money for terrorist groups. And Binance put out a statement that was like, well, at least we didn't, they didn't catch us stealing any money, as if we should be happy that Binance actually had the money. So the people that remain in crypto say, hey, the bad actors are gone now. You can trust crypto. And I would say, I've heard it before, and I'm not going to spend my time investigating these new companies. Like, I feel like the industry has been discredited by the terrible ones that have come before. And again, I'm not an investor, but what I would say is I'm going to wait until there's some sort of app that real people are using, that I hear like my friends like, that might get me more interested in crypto again. But when it's all just based on this buy it and it goes up and we'll all get rich, I just don't think that is the basis of a solid investment. Though it turned out to be the basis of a lot of a funny adventure.